additional Hall effect, magnetic field Hall effect sensor inside of it that can drive a Bosch ignition module, it can drive a Ford ignition module, a GM ignition module, Mallory MSD. Any ignition module that uses a magnetic field Hall effect sensor can be operated by that distributor. And the reason you cannot use a B28 distributor is the firing order, or the firing sequence, I should say. If you look at a B28 distributor, it has two terminals right next to each other, then there's a gap. Two more terminals, a gap, and two more terminals. And that's your odd fire sequence. It fires the engine. It goes ba-doom, pause, ba-doom, pause, ba-doom, pause. That's your odd fire sequence. This is an even fire engine. There's no gap. There's no pause in the firing order. This just goes boom, 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 boom. Left, right, left, right, left, right. Even fire. You can see the terminals on the distributor cap are all evenly spaced. There's no gap, no dead space. If you were to put a B28 distributor on this engine, I don't think it would even work. And if you even got it to fire, it would shoot flames up the throat of the carb, and because it'd be making spark at all the wrong time. You need an even fire distributor. So the $10,000 question is, where are you going to get an even fire distributor suitable for mating to a PRV? The answer, of course, is American Motors Corporation. There is a fella who posted on the internet a procedure that he went through to modify a B28 distributor to be an even fire distributor, and it was extremely complicated, way more complicated than what I'm about to show you here. To take an AMC distributor, this is the distributor that AMC used on its 6-cylinder engines for more than a quarter of a century. It's a Ford distributor. It's made by Ford. In fact, I don't know if you can see, it says Motorcraft cast in the side there. But the only thing that you need to do to make this distributor suitable for mounting to a PRV will take you 15 minutes. First, the shaft that goes through the distributor, that spins the rotor around, is too long. On an AMC engine, this distributor would also turn the oil pump. So the shaft is long enough to get all the way down to the oil pump at the other end. Well, obviously you don't need to do that on a PRV, so you cut the shaft shorter. I can't remember exactly what the length is. I posted it on the internet. I posted this distributor next to a B28 distributor so people could see them side by side. Whatever it is, it's 3 and some odd inches. You cut the shaft to the proper length. Then you slide off the AMC gear, because the AMC gear is totally different from the PRV gear. Slide the PRV gear on, drill it, put the roll pin in, done. That is all you have to do to make a distributor that is suitable for mounting on your PRV engine. Even fire distributor, suitable for mounting on your engine. Cut the shaft to the proper length, take the AMC gear off, put the PRV gear on, pin it, done. It'll take you 15 minutes. But this is the problem. Oh, you also need to drill the hole in the heads. 3.0 heads have the beginnings of a hole for the distributor to go through. It's just not drilled all the way through. So you just drill the hole the rest of the way through. Slide your distributor in, put the hold down clamp on, boom, done. Now you have a even fire PRV distributor with no way to make it spin around. 3.0 camshafts do not have a distributor drive gear. Where the gear is on a 2.8 camshaft, it would make the rotor go around and around in the distributor. On a 3.0 camshaft, it's just smooth. It's just a smooth shaft. So you need a camshaft that has a gear to make your distributor go around and around. So where are you going to find such a camshaft? I'm going to tell you. and bear with me, this is going to blow your minds just a little bit. It blew my mind too, but bear with me. By the time I get to the end of the explanation, it'll make perfect sense. The first thing you have to understand about these PRV engines is they do not operate like any other V-shaped engine that I've ever run into. They're very, very unique in that the left cylinder bank is in its own little world. The left cylinder bank has no idea that the right cylinder bank is even in the car, and vice versa. The right cylinder bank is in its own little world. It has nothing to do with the left cylinder bank. The left cylinder bank has nothing to do with the right cylinder bank. They're each in their own little world, and never shall the twain meet. Clearest example of this is in the firing order. This is your PRV firing order. It goes 6, 1, 5, 3, 4, 2. Left, right, left, right, left, right. The same side of the engine is never fired sequentially. The PRV never fires the same side of the engine 2 times in a row. That's called crossover, by the way. This engine has no crossover. Very, very unusual. Every other V-shaped engine I've ever run into has crossover, which necessarily binds the 2 cylinder banks together to each other. When it came time to convert this engine from the odd fire sequence, remember I told you it goes ba-doom, pause, ba-doom, pause, ba-doom, pause, that's your odd fire. When they converted this engine into the even fire sequence, they did not change valve timing on cylinders 1 through 3 relative to each other, nor did they change valve timing on cylinders 4 through 6 relative to each other. On this 3.0 engine, cylinders 1 through 3 and cylinders 4 through 6 are timed, valve actuation, identically to a 2.8. They're timed identically to a 2.7. The way they converted this engine into an even fire engine was they changed the timing chains. 3.0 timing chains are radically different, or not radically, but they're different from 2.8 timing chains. You cannot put 3.0 timing chains on a 2.8 or vice versa. It won't work. You can put 2.8 camshafts into a 3.0 and it'll work just fine. Runs like a top. And the minute you put a 2.8 camshaft in this head, you get a distributor drive gear, because B28 2.8s have a distributor drive gear. That's how you get your drive gear. Take the 3.0 camshafts out, put the 2.8 camshafts in, put your 15-minute modified distributor in, boom, you now have ignition. That's it. That's all you have to do. Very, very simple. Before I start the engine up, let me just show you the mechanical fuel pump here. I really, really like these mechanical fuel pumps. They're what I'm giving people with their carb conversions now. I used to use electric fuel pumps, but there are 2 advantages to a mechanical fuel pump over an electric fuel pump. First and foremost is it has no electrical connection. It's mechanical. And what that means is that there's no fuel pump relay, there's no RPM relay, there's no inertia switch, no fuse number 7 to melt, there's no grounding issues, no electrical load, none of that. If the engine is spinning, the pump is putting out. If the engine stops spinning, the pump stops putting out. That's the way it works. So they're self-contained, just spinning with the engine pumps. Very low impact. The second thing I like about them is pump output is proportional to the fuel demands of the carburetor. When the engine is spinning very slowly, say at idle for example, and the fuel demands on the carburetor are very low, the pump's output is very low because the engine's spinning slowly. The slower the engine spins, the less the pump puts out. The faster the engine spins, the more the pump puts out. So like at wide open throttle, when the engine is spinning very quickly, the pump is pumping very quickly and refilling the carburetor, proportionate to those fuel demands. With an electric pump, it puts out the same amount of fuel all the time, no matter what. And with the carbureted pumps, what most people do is they get a pump that's kind of in the middle. At idle, the pump is putting out more fuel than the carburetor needs, and it just pushes against the closed needle valve. At wide open throttle, it's putting out less fuel than the carburetor needs, and you actually run the risk of running the bowl low because you're kind of in the middle. Not an issue with a mechanical fuel pump. So that's that. Carburetor, intake manifold, plates that spacer plates for the manifold to mate up to the 3.0 heads. A magnetic field Hall effect distributor that is suitable for mounting in a PRV engine, a camshaft with a drive gear to make your distributor spin around and around, and then the icing on the cake, a mechanical fuel pump to pump your fuel. But that's not the question on everybody's lips. The question everybody wants to know is, does it run? Only one way to find out. What's the temperature in here? The global warming people can say wherever they want. It's hot. Good Lord, how can I find Farrar's keys with those in the way? There we go. Alright. The question on everybody's mind is, does it run? And the answer is yes. Runs very well. There you go. The world's first carbureted 3.0 with a traditional Hall effect distributor and a mechanical fuel pump. This is Farrar's exhaust system. When I very first put the engine in the car, I just had the bare manifolds. Trust me, this is much, much nicer. But, there you go. Nothing on fire yet. He's running a serpentine belt, obviously. It's a 3.0, so you don't run V belts with 3.0. You have a serpentine belt. And carburetor, manifold, spacer plates, distributor, drive gear, fuel pump. I've run the crap out of this engine. Basically, Farrar's engine has logged a couple 100,000 miles just sitting here in my driveway. It's still up on blocks, as you can see. As soon as I get the exhaust system mounted to the frame, get the drive axle connected, then I'll be able to start road testing it. But he's already traveled 100,000 miles just sitting up